Chapter 1. Complaining is not a strategy. Let's start here. Complaining doesn't change anything. Think about that for a moment. We all complain about people, places, situations, traffic, slow Wi-Fi, noisy neighbors, bad weather, toxic bosses, rude cashiers, our aching backs, and even our own lack of motivation. Sometimes, it feels like complaining is our default setting. But let's get honest. What has complaining ever actually fixed? That momentary sense of release, the relief of being heard, the illusion of taking action. None of that leads to actual change. Complaining is often mistaken for a coping mechanism, but in reality, it's a form of emotional procrastination. It delays action. It distracts from the real issue. It tricks us into believing we're addressing something, when really, we're just circling it with words. The illusion of relief. Let's be fair, there's a reason we do it. Complaining feels good. For a second, it validates your frustration. You feel seen, maybe even comforted. Someone nods and agrees with you. It creates a small sense of connection. Yes, I feel that too. That sucks. But here's the thing about that kind of connection. It's built on weakness, not strength. Shared frustration might bond you with others momentarily, but it doesn't lead to growth. It doesn't solve the problem. It reinforces it. The more you complain, the more your brain starts to expect negativity, to search for what's wrong instead of what's possible. You start to identify with your problems instead of your potential. That's not relief. That's reinforcement. And over time, you're not just complaining, you're becoming a complainer. You've handed your power over to what's bothering you. And here's the hard truth. That's a choice. The real cost of complaining. Complaining isn't free. It drains something from you every time you do it. It burns energy that could be used for something productive. It strains your relationships with people who want solutions, not circles of frustration. It affects your mental health, focusing your attention on problems rather than progress. And it's addictive. Neuroscience backs this up. Every time you complain, your brain builds stronger neural pathways that make future complaining easier. Eventually, your brain becomes wired for negativity. You don't even realize it, but you're scanning the world for things to be annoyed about, disappointed by, or frustrated with. That's how powerful your habits of thought are. They don't just reflect your life, they shape it. You get good at what you practice. If you practice focusing on what's wrong, you'll keep finding what's wrong, even in situations that are neutral, even in moments that could have been joyful. On the flip side, when you practice seeing opportunity, choosing focus, and taking action, those habits get stronger too. The most dangerous complaint. There's one kind of complaint that's more dangerous than all the rest, the silent, internal kind. The one that loops in your head when you're stuck in traffic or scrolling social media. The one that whispers, "Why is life so unfair?" The one that says, "They have it easier," or "I never catch a break." You don't say it out loud, but it's there. Constantly. This is what I call the passive complaint loop, that internal script that feeds helplessness and disempowerment. It's a quiet erosion of confidence and clarity. You start to believe your complaints. You start to think of yourself as unlucky, unsupported, unworthy. And when that belief settles in, you stop reaching. You stop acting. You stop growing. That's what makes complaining so dangerous. It's not just noise. It's a narrative. Complaining versus communicating. Now, don't get this twisted. This isn't a call to stay silent or tolerate injustice. You're allowed to feel things. You're allowed to speak up. You're allowed to be upset. But here's the key difference. Communication has intention. Complaining has inertia. When you communicate, you're seeking clarity, solutions, progress. When you complain, you're usually just venting without direction. Here's an example. Complaining, "My job is awful. My manager's an idiot. Nothing ever changes." Communicating, "I've realized I feel stuck at work, and I want to talk about finding a better path or building some new skills." See the difference? One feeds your frustration. The other feeds your future. So the next time you feel that bubbling urge to complain, ask yourself, am I seeking relief or resolution? A moment of self-awareness. Let's pause for a quick reality check. Do any of these sound familiar? Nothing ever works out for me. People don't listen to me. I can't win. I'm just tired of everything. I hate how things are, but I don't know what to do. These are all emotional messages. They're signals from your inner world. But if they only lead to more complaints and no change, they become dead ends. Now, imagine translating those same messages into something actionable. Nothing's working right now. What's one small thing I can control today? I feel unheard. Maybe I need to express myself differently or to different people. I feel like I can't win, so where can I play a smaller game and win first? I'm tired. Do I need rest, a boundary, or a new routine? I don't like how things are. What's one tiny change I could make this week? Same feelings. Different approach. Game-changing outcome. Reclaiming your power. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. Nobody's coming to save you. That's not cold, it's empowering. Because once you stop waiting for a savior, you become your own. You start making your own decisions. You stop giving so much power to your boss, your past, your family, your bank account, or your bad day. You start building momentum, even if it's just a little bit at a time. You take back the steering wheel. So here's the shift we're making in this book, starting right now. From complaining to creating. From blame to ownership. From emotional spirals to intentional steps. You're not stuck because life is unfair. You're stuck because you've been taught to wait instead of work. You've been taught to vent instead of act. But now you know better. And when you know better, you do better. Practical steps to start today. Let's make this real. Here are a few ways to interrupt the habit of complaining and step into a new mindset. 1. The 3-complaint rule. Limit yourself to 3 complaints per day. That's it. Whether aloud or in your head. After that, you have to turn every negative thought into a solution-oriented one. You'll be shocked how quickly you become aware of how often you complain. 2. Create a power response. Pick one simple phrase to use when you catch yourself complaining. Something like, "Okay, what's the solution? Let's shift. I'm in charge of my reaction." It sounds small, but it rewires you. Over time, that phrase becomes your mental reset button. 3. Journaling prompt. What am I tolerating? Spend 5 minutes listing out everything you're tolerating in your life, things that annoy or drain you but that you've never addressed. Then pick one to change this week. 1 conversation. 1 cancellation. 1 change. Progress kills complaints. 4. Replace complaints with gratitude. Every time you catch yourself wanting to complain, force yourself to name one thing you're grateful for in that moment. It's not always easy, but that's the point. You're retraining your brain to look for strength, not scarcity. Chapter 2. Find the triggers, break the loop. If you want to stop a behavior, you have to understand why it's happening. Complaining is rarely random. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's a response to something deeper, some experience, person, or internal pattern that hits a nerve. A trigger. This chapter is about exposing those triggers, uncovering what sets you off, what pushes your buttons, and what drags you into that familiar spiral of negativity. If Chapter 1 was about seeing the cost of complaining, this chapter is about finding the cause. Because here's the truth. You can't change what you won't confront. What is a trigger? A trigger is anything, external or internal, that causes a strong emotional reaction, often without you fully understanding why. Some triggers are obvious. Others are subtle. Some are temporary. Others are deeply rooted in long-standing patterns, trauma, or limiting beliefs. And the most dangerous triggers, the ones you're not aware of. They're the ones that run on autopilot. You snap, complain, shut down, or lash out without realizing that your mind and emotions are following an old, unconscious script. To break free from those scripts, you have to shine a light on them. Categories of common complaint triggers. Let's break triggers down into 3 main types. 1. Situational triggers. These are the circumstances that frustrate you in your everyday environment. They might include traffic jams, delays and waiting, chaotic workspaces, being interrupted, poor customer service, technology failures. These triggers are external and usually happen in predictable patterns. You probably already know what situations make your blood boil. But do you track them? Do you prepare for them? Or do you walk right into them daily and react the same way every time? Your frustration might be valid, but repeating the same response without intention is a choice. 2. Relational triggers. These come from your interactions with other people. They're more emotional and often more complex. Examples include feeling dismissed or ignored, being criticized, dealing with controlling or manipulative behavior, experiencing passive aggression, hearing a tone of voice that reminds you of past conflict. Relational triggers often trace back to deeper wounds, times you felt unimportant, rejected, or unseen. You may think someone else is the problem, but often, the reaction comes from your own unmet needs or old experiences that haven't healed. That's not blame, it's power. If your trigger lives inside you, then you can change how you respond to it. 3. Internal triggers. These are the toughest to spot and the most important to understand. Internal triggers are your own thoughts, beliefs, or emotional patterns that set off complaints, resentment, or helplessness. For example, a fear of failure, perfectionism, self-criticism, comparison to others, anxiety about the future, shame from the past. These triggers don't need anyone else or anything external. They live inside your mind and body. And when left unchallenged, they become the root system of your habitual complaining. Case study: the Monday morning meltdown. Let's look at a real-life example of how these triggers play out. Imagine it's Monday morning. You wake up late. You're annoyed at yourself for snoozing your alarm, internal trigger. You jump into traffic, which is worse than usual, situational trigger. You finally make it to work, where your colleague forgets to CC you on a key email, again, relational trigger. By 9:30 a.m., your entire mood is wrecked. You spend the day muttering under your breath, scrolling your phone during meetings, and venting to a friend about how nobody respects your time. Sound familiar? You didn't choose those events, but you did fall into a familiar loop. What if, instead, you had given yourself grace for sleeping in? Listened to a podcast during traffic. Asked your coworker directly and calmly about the email. The difference in your emotional experience would have been massive. That's the power of recognizing and responding to triggers instead of letting them run you. Step 1. Build a trigger awareness list. Here's your first action step. Build your trigger map. Take a few quiet minutes. Reflect on the past week. Ask yourself, when did I complain or spiral emotionally? What was happening around me? Who was I with? What was I thinking? How did my body feel? Write down every moment that stood out. Don't judge. Just observe. Now look for patterns. You'll likely start to see the same themes appear. Certain people, situations, or feelings that light the fuse. That's your awareness map. And now, you can begin to disarm the bomb before it blows. Step 2. Separate the trigger from the truth. This is where you build emotional intelligence. A trigger feels like truth. But it isn't. It's just a reaction. Let's say someone cancels on you. Your trigger says, they don't care about me. But what's the truth? Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they're unreliable. Maybe they're just human. Another example. Your boss criticizes your presentation. Your trigger says, I'm not good enough. But what's the truth? Maybe the slides weren't clear. Maybe the feedback is fair. That doesn't mean you are unworthy. Learn to pause. What else could be true here? Is this about them or about me? What's a more empowered interpretation? This doesn't dismiss your feelings. It reframes them. When you master that, you regain control of the narrative. Step 3. Choose your pattern interrupt. Once you identify a common trigger, the next step is to design a pattern interrupt, a planned shift in behavior or thought to replace your usual complaint. Let's go back to the traffic example. Old pattern. Trigger: long commute. Reaction: complain the whole time. New pattern. Trigger: long commute. Interrupt: listen to a motivating audiobook, practice deep breathing, or use it for mindful silence. Now, instead of arriving to work stressed and bitter, you arrive grounded and focused. This same approach works for relational triggers too. If a certain person consistently frustrates you, ask, can I prepare myself emotionally before seeing them? Can I set a boundary, even a small one? Can I reframe their behavior so I don't take it personally? You're not trying to control the trigger. You're controlling your response. That's self-leadership. Step 4. Rewrite the script. One of the best long-term strategies is to build a new inner dialogue. Every time you catch a triggered complaint, rewrite it on the spot. Instead of, I can't deal with this again. This is tough, but I've handled worse. I can handle this. Instead of, why does this always happen to me? This might be a pattern. What is it showing me? Instead of, people always let me down. I'm learning who I can trust and how to set better boundaries. This isn't fake positivity. This is trained perspective. Your mind will believe what you tell it most often. Make your words count. Step 5. Let go of triggers that aren't yours. Sometimes, your triggers aren't even yours. They're inherited. Maybe you grew up in a home where complaining was the family language. Maybe you absorbed your parents' scarcity mindset. Maybe your social circle is rooted in sarcasm, negativity, or gossip. It's hard to outgrow the emotional environment you were raised in, but not impossible. Awareness is the beginning. Ask yourself, is this reaction really mine, or is it something I learned? Who benefits from me staying in this pattern? What would I feel without this trigger? Sometimes, what you're calling just the way I am is actually just what I absorbed. You get to rewrite the code. Real-life example. From complaints to clarity. Meet Aria. She used to complain constantly about her boss, her relationships, and her stress. But underneath it all, her real trigger was feeling out of control. Whenever life didn't go according to plan, she'd spiral. After doing the trigger work, she realized her entire identity was wrapped in needing certainty. Her complaints weren't about people, they were about fear. She didn't fix it overnight. But she learned to pause when the trigger hit. She created her own power phrases like, breathe first, speak second, and uncertainty doesn't mean failure. The result? Less venting, more clarity, fewer complaints, more growth. That kind of shift is available to you too. Chapter 3. Complaining changes nothing, but it changes you. You've made it this far. You're becoming more aware. You're spotting your triggers. You're starting to catch the complaints before they take over. That alone puts you ahead of most people. Now it's time to go deeper, not just into what causes complaints, but what they do to your life. Because while complaining might seem harmless, a bit of venting here, a sarcastic remark there, it's more powerful than you think. In fact, it doesn't just keep you from solving your problems. It actually becomes one. Complaining is a coping mechanism, but not a healthy one. Let's be real. Life can be overwhelming, unfair, exhausting. When we complain, we're not just being negative for the sake of it. We're often trying to cope, to release tension, to be seen or heard, to get some relief. But here's the problem. Complaining is a short-term relief with long-term consequences. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It feels like it's helping, but it's actually dehydrating you from the inside out. And the more you do it, the more it becomes your default setting. Eventually, your brain doesn't ask, what can I do? It just repeats, this sucks. The hidden impact of complaining on your brain. Let's get into the science for a second. Every time you complain, especially when you do it regularly, you strengthen specific neural pathways in your brain. These pathways make it easier to think negative thoughts, focus on problems, and interpret neutral situations as threatening or frustrating. It's called neuroplasticity. Your brain literally rewires itself based on your habits of thought. So if your daily life includes complaining about your job, griping about your body, venting about your partner, moaning about the weather, the news, your mood, your brain starts to filter reality through a negative lens. Even on a good day, you'll find what's wrong. Even in a peaceful moment, you'll anticipate chaos. Even when things are going okay, you'll be bracing for what might go wrong. Complaining doesn't just reflect your reality, it reshapes it. The social cost. How complaining affects your relationships. It's not just about your internal world. Let's talk about your relationships. Whether you realize it or not, people pick up on your energy. They listen to your words. They absorb your tone. And if the majority of what you share is filled with complaint, they'll feel it. Here's what chronic complaining can do socially. It drains others. People start to feel emotionally exhausted around you, even if they love you. It pushes people away. You become associated with stress, not peace. It invites commiseration, not connection. You attract other complainers, which keeps you locked in a cycle of mutual frustration. It's not that people won't empathize, but empathy without empowerment just becomes shared powerlessness. Eventually, your social circle becomes one big echo chamber of, "Yeah, life sucks." That's not connection. That's co-suffering. You deserve better than that. And so do the people in your life. Emotional contagion. Why your complaints are infectious. There's a psychological phenomenon called emotional contagion, the tendency for people to absorb and mirror the emotions of those around them. If you walk into a room smiling and calm, people feel it. If you walk in complaining, frustrated, and overwhelmed, they feel that too. Your emotions are contagious. Your words carry weight. Your attitude affects other people's state of mind. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to pretend everything's fine when it's not. But understand this. Every complaint you speak out loud is planting seeds. Are you growing weeds, or something worthwhile? The energy drain of complaining. You already have a limited amount of energy each day. Some people call it your emotional budget. When you spend that energy on complaining, you leave less for solving real problems, making meaningful progress, deepening relationships, creating joy or gratitude, restoring your body and mind. And here's what makes it worse. Complaining doesn't give you energy. It takes it away. It can leave you feeling heavier, not lighter, more stressed, not more calm, more stuck, not more empowered. And if you complain before taking action, guess what? You've tricked your brain into thinking you did something. That false sense of productivity keeps you from doing the real work. So ask yourself, what if I took all the energy I spend talking about problems and started solving them instead? That shift alone can change your life. Complaints versus feedback. Know the difference. Before we go further, let's make an important distinction. There's a difference between complaining and feedback. Feedback is constructive, comes with a solution or intention to improve, respects boundaries and personal responsibility. Complaining is repetitive, has no intention of change, often blames others, seeks validation, not resolution. Let's take an example. Complaint: nobody ever listens to me in meetings. It's like I don't exist. Feedback: I've noticed I don't get much time to speak in meetings. I'd like to find a way to contribute more effectively. One is a dead end. The other opens the door to change. Start noticing your language. Are you dumping emotion or directing it toward a better outcome? The identity trap. Here's something we don't talk about enough. If you complain long enough, you start to identify with your problems. They become part of your story, your personality, your excuse, your justification. You've probably met people like this. Everything is always hard for them. They never catch a break. Life is always against them. That mindset is addictive. Why? Because if you're always the victim, you never have to take responsibility. You get sympathy. You avoid failure because you don't try. But the cost? You never experience freedom. The identity trap is real. But it's not permanent. The first step to escape it is to say, I'm not my circumstances. I'm my choices. Even if life handed you a rough deck of cards, how you play them is still up to you. Turning complaints into clarity. Let's be clear. You don't need to become emotionally numb or relentlessly positive. You're allowed to feel things. But instead of letting a complaint end the conversation, let it start the solution. Try this exercise. Every time you want to complain, use this 3-step method. The CALM method. See, catch it. Notice the moment the complaint arises. Example, ugh, I can't believe I have to do this project again. Ask why. What's the emotion underneath it? Frustration? Fear? Overwhelm? What belief is driving it? This always happens to me. No one helps me. Learn from it. What is this moment trying to teach you? Maybe it's time to delegate more. Maybe you've said yes too often. Maybe you need a better process. Move forward. Now take action. Set a boundary. Ask for support. Change your approach. Even one small shift is enough. From victim to leader. You can't lead your life if you're always complaining about it. Leadership doesn't mean pretending you're perfect. It means taking ownership of your experience. It means saying, this is hard, but I'm here, and I'm still moving. You don't have to know the whole plan. You just have to take the next right step. That might mean rewriting your morning routine, having a tough conversation, quitting a toxic habit, asking for help without shame. Whatever it is, the shift from complaint to action starts with a single decision. I'm done waiting. I'm ready to lead. Real-life transformation. Malik's story. Malik was known as the complainer at work. Every day, he had something to say about the traffic, the meetings, the management, the clients. People laughed at first. But over time, they started avoiding him. When his team leader finally pulled him aside, she said something simple but powerful. You're one of the smartest people here. But you're leading with your frustrations, not your gifts. That hit hard. Malik decided to try a 30-day challenge. No complaints. Instead of venting, he journaled. Instead of reacting, he paused. Instead of blaming, he asked, what can I control? The result? More respect. More peace. More impact. His problems didn't vanish. But his power showed up. That shift is possible for you, too. Chapter 4. Create goals that pull you forward. Let's get real for a second. If you don't have a direction, everything starts to feel like a problem. That's how people end up trapped in the complaint loop, not because they're lazy or negative by nature, but because they don't have something meaningful to move toward. When life lacks direction, every little inconvenience becomes magnified. The small stuff feels big. The big stuff feels unbearable. And you end up stuck, repeating the same thoughts, doing the same things, feeling the same way. But here's the good news. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a point to move toward. This chapter is about getting unstuck by setting goals that matter, not just look good. Because when you have a real sense of purpose behind your daily actions, something shifts. Complaints become clues. Obstacles become feedback. Triggers become teachers. And your energy starts to align with progress, not problems. Let's break it down. The problem with empty goals. We live in a goal-obsessed culture. That sounds good on paper, but it's only part of the story. The problem isn't that people don't set goals. It's that they set the wrong ones. Goals like lose weight without defining why, make more money without knowing what it's for, get promoted without asking what kind of life that job creates, be more productive without understanding what you're producing. These goals sound impressive, but they're empty. They don't inspire. They don't stick. And when they don't happen fast, they fuel more frustration, more complaining, and more burnout. Here's the truth. A goal that isn't rooted in meaning will die in discomfort. That's why we're going to build better ones. What makes a goal powerful? A powerful goal isn't just something you want. It's something that connects to your values, aligns with your identity, excites or challenges your spirit, makes your future self proud. Let's unpack that. 1. Connects to your values. Ask, what do I stand for? What matters most to me? If your goal doesn't align with your values, it won't last. For example, if you value freedom but your goal requires total rigidity, it'll collapse under pressure. But if your goal allows for flexibility and creativity, it will feed your energy, not drain it. 2. Aligns with your identity. Ask, who am I becoming? Your goal should reinforce a version of yourself you want to step into, not pull you away from it. If your goal is to become fit, don't just chase the weight loss. Chase the identity of someone who treats their body with respect and energy. 3. Excites or challenges you. Ask, am I lit up or just checking a box? A powerful goal stretches you in a way that feels meaningful, not just mandatory. It sparks something. Even if it scares you, it calls you forward. 4. Makes your future self proud. Ask, will I look back and thank myself for this? If the answer is yes, you're on the right track. The 3 types of goals you need. Now that we know what makes a goal powerful, let's break down the 3 kinds of goals that give your life structure and momentum. 1. Anchor goals, for stability. These are daily or weekly practices that ground you. They might not be flashy, but they create the rhythm that holds your life together. Examples: morning movement or meditation, a consistent bedtime, weekly meal prep, daily reading. Anchor goals are about identity. They say, this is who I am. This is how I show up. 2. Stretch goals, for growth. These are short-term or medium-term challenges that push you beyond your comfort zone. Examples: running your first 5K, pitching a big idea at work, launching your first side hustle, speaking publicly. Stretch goals build resilience. They stretch your self-image. And even if you don't win, the attempt makes you stronger. 3. Vision goals, for legacy. These are long-term, big-picture dreams. They may not be urgent, but they're important. Examples: writing a book, building financial freedom, creating a business, starting a non-profit, becoming a mentor, coach, or leader. Vision goals pull you forward. They remind you that your life is part of something bigger than your current to-do list. Why complaints die in the presence of vision. Let's talk about why this actually works. When you live without goals, you wake up into reaction mode every day. You're responding to stress. You're dodging problems. You're defending your energy from chaos. It's exhausting. But when you have a vision that matters to you, the same problems don't hit as hard. Traffic, annoying, but you use it to listen to a podcast that fuels your goal. A rough day at work? Sure, but you remember it's temporary. It's part of the bridge to your bigger vision. Feeling tired? You rest, not because you're giving up, but because you're recharging for what matters. Purpose reframes everything. You don't complain as much, not because life is easier, but because you're more focused. Building a goal system that works. Let's make this real. Here's a step-by-step process to start setting intentional goals today. Step 1. Define what matters. Write your top 5 values. Use words like freedom, creativity, connection, service, health, mastery, family, faith, etc. Then write this sentence: any goal I commit to must support one or more of these values. That's your filter. Step 2. Choose one goal from each category. One anchor goal, something small and daily that reinforces who you are. One stretch goal, something uncomfortable but exciting. One vision goal, something big you want to build over time. If this feels like too much, start with just one goal total. The point is momentum, not perfection. Step 3. Define the emotional why. Now write down why this goal matters to you, not just logically, but emotionally. What will this goal allow me to feel? What part of me is hungry for this? What pain will this help me overcome? What joy will this create? Emotion is the glue. If the goal doesn't stir something in you, tweak it until it does. Step 4. Break it down. Most goals fail not because they're too hard, but because they're too vague. So take your goal and ask, what's one thing I can do this week to move forward? What's one small habit I can build? What's one person I could ask for help? What would half-done progress look like? Progress builds confidence. Confidence kills complaints. Step 5. Set up a reflection rhythm. Pick one day each week to ask, what did I move forward on? What did I avoid? What did I learn? What's next? This isn't about judgment. It's about staying awake to your own momentum. You'd be surprised how often people get stuck, not because they're lazy, but because they're not tracking their own growth. You've come too far to fall asleep on your progress. Real-life transformation. Zoe's story. Zoe was stuck. Every conversation she had started with a complaint about work, about money, about her weight, about just feeling blah. When someone finally asked, "What are you working toward?" she didn't know what to say. That moment woke her up. She started with one anchor goal, moving her body for 20 minutes a day. Then a stretch goal, learning to cook healthy meals at home. Then a vision goal, enrolling in a holistic nutrition course. Within 6 months, her energy shifted. Not because life was perfect, but because she was moving. Movement created momentum. Momentum created confidence. Confidence replaced the complaints. That's what goals can do. Chapter 5. Practice gratitude until it rewrites your mind. Let's talk about the quiet superpower most people overlook. It's not hustle. It's not intelligence. It's not confidence. It's gratitude. Not the fluffy kind that lives in inspirational quotes or lives only in Thanksgiving dinners, but the kind that's gritty, practiced, consistent, and powerful enough to change your brain and break the cycle of negativity. By now, you've seen how complaints can dominate your focus, shape your mindset, and drain your energy. But what's the antidote? Gratitude. Gratitude doesn't erase your problems. It reframes your relationship to them. And over time, that changes everything. Gratitude is a discipline, not a mood. A lot of people think of gratitude as something you feel after something good happens. You get the job, you feel grateful. Your partner surprises you, you feel grateful. The test results come back clean, you feel grateful. But if you're waiting for life to hand you a reason to feel gratitude, you're doing it backwards. The most powerful version of gratitude is the one you choose, even when it's inconvenient, even when things feel heavy, even when nothing seems to be going your way. It's a discipline, a practice, a lens you train your mind to look through. Gratitude doesn't ignore reality. It transforms how you interpret it. The brain science behind gratitude. Let's get into the neuroscience. Practicing gratitude consistently can activate the brain's reward system, increasing dopamine and serotonin, reduce stress hormones like cortisol, strengthen emotional regulation by stimulating the prefrontal cortex, improve sleep, relationships, and self-esteem. Why? Because gratitude shifts your attention. And your attention is everything. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you train your brain to look for what's working, what's meaningful, what's beautiful, what's growing, then that becomes your default. Instead of waking up and scanning for what's wrong, your brain starts scanning for what's right. And that's not just positive thinking. That's mental reprogramming. The gratitude complaint trade-off. Let's revisit the complaint loop for a second. Complaining focuses on what's lacking. Gratitude focuses on what's present. Complaining trains your brain to expect frustration. Gratitude trains your brain to expect joy, opportunity, and enoughness. You can't hold both in your mind at full volume at the same time. One will always be louder, so you get to decide. Which one do you want to feed? If you're serious about breaking your old patterns, gratitude has to become more than something you do occasionally. It has to become part of how you operate. Real gratitude versus surface gratitude. Let's get clear. There's a big difference between real gratitude and surface-level performance gratitude. Surface-level gratitude sounds like, "At least I'm not as bad off as some people. Could be worse. I guess I should be thankful." That's not gratitude. That's guilt, disguised as gratitude. It doesn't uplift, it minimizes. Real gratitude sounds like, "This moment is hard, but I'm thankful I'm not alone in it. Today was exhausting, but I got through it. This challenge is stretching me, and I'm growing stronger." Real gratitude is rooted in awareness, not comparison. It's personal, emotional, and sincere. Practicing gratitude in real life, when it's hard. Let's be honest, it's easy to feel grateful when things are going well. But what about when your plans fall apart? You're overwhelmed with stress? Someone lets you down? You feel stuck, unseen, or exhausted. That's where the practice comes in. You don't have to feel grateful for the pain, but you can still find gratitude within the pain. You can say, "I'm grateful I have the tools to face this. I'm thankful this is teaching me how strong I am. I appreciate the people who've shown up for me." The goal isn't to fake positivity. The goal is to build a habit of noticing. How to build a daily gratitude practice without making it boring. Let's get practical. Here are powerful ways to build a gratitude practice that actually sticks and actually works. 1. The 3 things journal, morning or night. Every day, write down 3 specific things you're grateful for. The key is specificity. Bad example, "I'm grateful for my family." Good example, "I'm grateful for the way my sister made me laugh when I was stressed out." The more vivid, the better. Why it works. Your brain starts to notice more positive details throughout the day, because it knows you'll be looking for them later. 2. Gratitude reframes. When something annoying happens, reframe it in the moment by finding one thing to appreciate. Examples. Stuck in traffic? Grateful for a chance to listen to this audiobook. Tough day at work? Thankful I get to challenge myself and grow. Feeling burned out? Appreciate that my body is asking me to slow down. It's not about lying to yourself, it's about creating space for perspective. 3. Thank you, notes or messages. Once a week, message or write to someone you appreciate. Tell them exactly why. Not just, "Thanks for being a good friend," but, "Thank you for always listening without judgment. I didn't realize how much that meant to me until recently." This strengthens connection and turns your gratitude outward. 4. Gratitude walks. Once or twice a week, go on a 10-15-minute walk and challenge yourself to mentally list everything you're grateful for. Big or small, past or present, external or internal. By the end of that walk, your mindset will almost always be clearer and calmer. Movement plus reflection equals powerful reset. 5. Anchor it to a habit. The easiest way to make gratitude a habit? Tie it to something you already do. Examples. While brushing your teeth, say 3 things you're thankful for. Before eating, pause for 10 seconds of silent gratitude. Right before bed, review your top moment of the day. Small moments, repeated often, become habits. The role of gratitude in breaking the complaint cycle. So how exactly does this help with complaining? Let's walk through it. You wake up late, old habit. Complain about your alarm. Gratitude habit. I'm thankful for a body that needed rest. You get criticism from a colleague, old habit. Spiral into self-doubt. Gratitude habit. I'm thankful I'm being challenged to grow. You feel overwhelmed, old habit. Rant, scroll, shut down. Gratitude habit. I'm thankful I get to build a life that stretches me. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. You're not pretending problems don't exist. You're choosing not to be ruled by them. Real-life transformation. Marcus's story. Marcus used to describe himself as a realist. But his version of realism was closer to pessimism. He'd constantly say things like, "Of course this happened. This is just my luck. That's life. Nothing ever works out." His relationships were strained. His creativity stalled. His stress was off the charts. He didn't buy into gratitude at first, but he tried a 30-day challenge, just to see. He wrote down 3 new things every morning. At first, it felt forced. Then something shifted. His list grew richer, more personal. He noticed how often he overlooked the good things, because he was busy waiting for the bad ones. By the end of the month, people noticed. His tone changed. His energy changed. And most importantly, he changed. Gratitude didn't make his life perfect, but it made him present. And that changed everything. Gratitude and identity. Here's the final and most powerful truth about gratitude. It's not just a practice, it's part of who you're becoming. When you build a life of gratitude, you start to identify as someone who looks for the good, someone who responds instead of reacts, someone who creates peace in chaos, someone who lives with presence, not pressure. This identity shift matters more than any technique. Because the more you believe you are someone who sees the beauty, the lesson, and the growth in every moment, the more your life will reflect that. Chapter 6. Focus on positive outcomes, even when it's hard. If your mind is always looking for what's wrong, that's all it will find. If your mind is trained to search for what's possible, even in the mess, even in the pain, then that's what you'll start to see. Let's be clear, this isn't about toxic positivity. We're not ignoring the hard stuff. We're not pretending everything is fine when it's not. This chapter is about learning how to focus your attention on positive outcomes, not as a way to escape life, but as a way to stay grounded in progress no matter what's happening. Because life isn't always smooth. Goals don't always go as planned. People will disappoint you. Situations will get messy. You'll hit walls. But how you interpret those moments, and where you let your focus go, decides who you become. Your focus is your power. Choose where you aim it. The problem with problem-focused thinking. Most people don't realize they're doing this. They hit a roadblock and immediately spiral into what-ifs. What if this ruins everything? What if I fail again? What if I never figure it out? They repeat worst-case scenarios. They rehearse pain before it even arrives. They get stuck in a mindset that magnifies danger and minimizes hope. Why? Because the brain evolved to protect us from threats. It looks for risk. It leans toward fear. And in a modern world where most threats are psychological, not physical, it still defaults to the old script. Scan for danger, prepare for the worst. But here's the issue that might help you survive. It won't help you thrive. Survival mode versus creation mode. There are 2 dominant modes your brain operates in. Survival mode, reactive, defensive, fear-based, focused on what might go wrong. Creation mode, intentional, imaginative, solution-focused, focused on what could go right. You don't need to eliminate survival mode. It has its place. But you can't live there. Because in survival mode, you hesitate instead of act. You complain instead of create. You worry instead of plan. You protect instead of pursue. Focusing on positive outcomes flips the switch. It shifts you from what if it fails to what if it works. And that single thought, held with consistency, can change the entire trajectory of your life. The power of anticipation. Think about this. What's the opposite of anxiety? Most people would say calm or peace. But here's a better answer. The opposite of anxiety is positive anticipation. Anxiety is fear of what could go wrong. Positive anticipation is excitement for what could go right. Both are focused on the future. Both are imagined realities. But only one gives you energy. Start asking, What would it look like if this worked out better than expected? What would happen if I succeeded? How will I feel when I get there? This isn't fantasy. It's training your mind to stop expecting doom and start inviting possibility. Mental filters. What are you looking through? Imagine two people walking into the same situation. Say, a job interview. Person A walks in thinking, they're probably going to find someone better. I always choke in interviews. Person B walks in thinking, I've prepared. I've got something unique to offer. Let's see where this goes. Same room. Same questions. Same opportunity. Totally different outcome. Why? Because each person brought their own mental filter. Your life is filtered through your thoughts. Change the filter. Change what you see. This isn't magic. It's focus. How to train your focus on positive outcomes. Let's move from theory to practice. You don't just decide to focus on the positive and expect it to stick. You train yourself to do it. Daily, deliberately, with repetition. Here's how. 1. Future frame visualization. Spend 2 to 5 minutes each day visualizing a positive outcome from something you're currently working toward or worried about. Let's say you have a hard conversation coming up. Instead of rehearsing the conflict, rehearse the solution. Imagine yourself staying calm, speaking clearly, the other person listening, you walking away proud of how you showed up. Even if reality turns out differently, that vision trains your nervous system to approach the situation, not avoid it. You become more grounded, prepared, and aligned. Do this for any area. Health goals, career moves, financial freedom, relationships, personal challenges. See it, feel it, then act from that space. 2. Flip the focus. Problem versus possibility. The next time something frustrating happens, pause and ask, what's the opportunity inside this challenge? Examples. This delay is giving me time to prepare better. This rejection is redirecting me to something more aligned. This argument is showing me where communication is needed. The shift isn't about denying the problem. It's about choosing a different focus. Because what you focus on grows. 3. Speak the outcome before it arrives. Language shapes reality. Start using phrases like, I'm figuring this out. Something good is coming from this. Every step is teaching me something. I'm becoming the kind of person who can handle this. These are not empty affirmations. These are instructions to your subconscious. Speak your way into your next level. 4. Build a positive outcome log. At the end of each day or week, list out, what went better than expected? What small win did I create? What did I learn that moved me forward? Over time, you'll realize your life is full of outcomes worth focusing on. You just weren't looking. Reframing setbacks. Let's be clear, bad things will still happen. You'll face disappointment, confusion, and loss. The fix. Recognize when people are projecting their fears onto you. Stay grounded in your own beliefs and remind yourself that your dreams are not dependent on their approval. You don't need everyone's support, just the support of those who believe in your potential. How to build a supportive network. Now that you've identified the people who might be holding you back, it's time to talk about how to build a network that fuels your growth. 1. Identify the traits you want in your network. Before you can find the right people, you need to know what traits you're looking for. Your network should be made up of individuals who embody the qualities you want to cultivate in yourself. Think about the qualities that will help you grow and evolve, and seek out people who represent those qualities. Ask yourself, do I want people who support my vision and encourage me to aim higher? Do I want people who hold me accountable and push me to show up consistently? Do I want people who bring optimism to the table, even when things get tough? Do I want people who are solution-oriented and focused on progress? These qualities will create the foundation of your network. Once you identify the traits, look for people who exhibit them, either in your current circles or in places where you can meet new people, such as workshops, seminars, or online communities. 2. Surround yourself with action takers. As you work to surround yourself with a supportive network, look for people who are action-oriented, not just people who talk about their goals, but people who take tangible steps toward them. Action takers inspire action. When you spend time with people who are actively pursuing their goals, it makes you want to step up and take action too. You feed off their energy, and they feed off yours. It's a cycle of momentum. Ask yourself, are the people around me moving forward in their own lives? Are they making progress, or are they stuck in a cycle of inaction? Do they encourage me to act, or do they give me reasons to delay? If you're surrounded by go-getters, you'll be more likely to adopt their mindset and habits. 3. Cultivate relationships with those who challenge you. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. To break free from complaining and stagnation, you need to surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, encourage you to question your assumptions, and push you to expand your worldview. Find mentors, friends, and colleagues who ask difficult questions that help you see things from new angles. Offer constructive feedback that makes you grow. Don't just tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. People who challenge you aren't trying to tear you down, they're trying to elevate you. They see your potential and want to help you see it too. 4. Create a culture of gratitude and positivity in your network. As you begin to build your network, make sure it's rooted in positivity and gratitude. Surround yourself with people who not only work hard but celebrate each other's successes. A community of like-minded individuals who focus on gratitude will keep your energy high and your vision sharp. People who practice gratitude are more likely to focus on opportunities, not obstacles. They see setbacks as lessons, not failures. By fostering an environment where everyone shares what they're thankful for and what's going well, you create a growth-oriented atmosphere. But what you choose to do with those moments, that's where the growth is. Let's say you didn't get the job. You can say, "See, I never win." Or you can say, "That door closed to teach me something. I'm going to follow up and ask for feedback. I'm building resilience and clarity with every experience." This doesn't mean you won't feel the sting. It means you don't let the sting define the story. You choose to keep your eyes on where you're going, not where you've stumbled. Real-life transformation. Asha's story. Asha was stuck. Her business wasn't growing. Her audience wasn't responding. She was burning out from trying everything and getting little in return. Her inner voice became one long complaint. "This is pointless. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Nothing is working." But she made one small shift. She started focusing on what could go right. Every morning, she asked, "What's one thing I can do today that might lead to the breakthrough I want?" She didn't just act. She focused her energy into that action with hope, not resentment. Within a month, she pivoted her offer. She collaborated with a friend. One post went viral. Her mindset caught fire again. It didn't happen overnight. But the momentum came when she changed her focus from "it's not working" to "it's working on me." What if it does work out? Let's pause here and ask a powerful question. What if the thing you're chasing, the peace, the breakthrough, the result, is closer than you think? What if it's already forming behind the scenes, and your job isn't to stress about the timeline, but to keep focusing forward? What if every setback you've faced so far wasn't a sign of failure, but a setup for something better aligned? What if the difference between giving up and going next level was focus? Because it usually is. Chapter 7. Build a supportive network that fuels your growth. You've heard the saying, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Now let's break that down. Your network, whether it's your friends, family, colleagues, or community, plays an instrumental role in shaping the course of your life. Whether or not you realize it, the people around you influence your mindset, your actions, and ultimately your results. So here's the question. Are the people you spend time with pushing you toward your best self? Or are they holding you back with negativity, complacency, or limiting beliefs? Your network can either be a source of growth and inspiration, or a source of drain and stagnation. The truth is, you can't reach your full potential alone. No one does. But you can also find yourself stuck if you surround yourself with the wrong people. the ones who complain more than they create, who gossip more than they grow, and who let their insecurities dictate their actions. Building the right network isn't about numbers, it's about quality. It's about finding people who will challenge you, support you, hold you accountable, and cheer you on, even when it gets tough. You need people who bring energy, positivity, and ambition to the table. People who align with your values, your vision, and your goals. And if you've been surrounding yourself with the wrong people, don't worry. You can change that. This chapter is about understanding the importance of building a network that nourishes your growth, supports your evolution, and helps you navigate life's challenges. Without sinking into the complaint-filled abyss. Let's dive in. Why your network matters more than you think. Before we explore how to build and strengthen your network, let's take a deeper look at why your network matters so much. People affect us more than we realize. The conversations we have, the energy we absorb, and the habits we adopt are shaped by the people we spend time with. Whether you want to accept it or not, you become like the people around you. Think about it. When you're around someone who consistently speaks negatively, does your mindset tend to lean toward optimism or pessimism? When you're around someone who is constantly taking action toward their goals, does it inspire you to do the same, or does it make you feel small or inadequate? When you're with someone who keeps complaining about their circumstances, how does that affect your energy and your own ability to take action? Here's the thing. You can't ignore the influence of others on your mindset, energy, and outcomes. Their opinions, behaviors, and attitudes can either propel you forward or anchor you to your current reality. The people who fuel your progress inspire you to take the next step, push past your limits, and challenge your thinking. The people who drain you feed your doubts, perpetuate your fears, and leave you feeling stuck. So ask yourself, are you around people who make you feel stronger, clearer, and more capable? Or do you feel weighed down by their energy and influence? The toxic network. Negative people who drain your energy. Before we talk about how to build your ideal support system, we need to understand what the wrong network looks like, and why these relationships can keep you stuck in a cycle of complaining and negativity. There are a few red flags that show up when you're surrounded by the wrong people. 1. The chronic complainers. These are the people who are never satisfied, who always find something to complain about, and who focus on the problems more than the solutions. They drain the life out of you with their negativity. Every conversation becomes a venting session about things they can't control, and before you know it, their frustrations become yours. They gossip about others. They point out what's wrong without offering any solutions. They criticize more than they encourage. They pull you into a cycle of venting rather than action. The fix. Set boundaries with chronic complainers. You can listen to them, but don't let their complaints become your problems. Respond with empathy, but then redirect the conversation toward action or solutions. Or, if possible, distance yourself from these individuals. Your energy is too valuable to waste on negativity. 2. The energy vampires. These people are like emotional leeches. They're always pulling from your energy reserves and leaving you feeling emotionally drained, unmotivated, and depleted. Whether it's because of constant drama or unrelenting emotional demands, energy vampires steal your joy and leave you with little left to give. They demand too much of your time and attention. They bring constant drama and crises into your life. They make you feel emotionally exhausted after every conversation. The fix. Learn to protect your energy. Start saying no when necessary. Set firm boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. Remember, it's okay to put yourself first and protect your peace. You don't have to be available for every emotional crisis that someone else is experiencing. 3. The dream killers. These people are experts at deflating your dreams. They don't necessarily mean to be cruel, but they operate from their own limiting beliefs, and they project them onto you. They criticize your goals, discourage you from taking risks, and reinforce your doubts. They belittle your ambitions. They tell you it's too risky, or that's impossible. They are stuck in their own fears and want to keep you there too. Chapter 8. Develop a growth mindset and embrace challenges as opportunities. In life, we all face obstacles, setbacks, and moments where everything seems impossible. It's easy in those moments to give in to frustration, self-doubt, and even resignation. But here's the key. How you choose to respond to those challenges can either keep you stuck or propel you forward. The difference. A growth mindset. If you're not familiar with the term, a growth mindset is a concept coined by psychologist Carol Dweck. It's the belief that abilities and intelligence are not fixed, that with effort, learning, and persistence, you can develop and improve. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges, learn from criticism, and don't fear failure. They see every setback as a chance to grow rather than as a permanent reflection of their abilities. In contrast, people with a fixed mindset believe their qualities and abilities are static. They avoid challenges, give up easily, and see failure as a reflection of their inherent limitations. Now ask yourself, which mindset do I operate from when things get tough? Do I see challenges as threats or opportunities? Am I afraid of failure, or do I see it as a stepping stone to success? In this chapter, we'll dive deep into how a growth mindset can reshape the way you face challenges, handle setbacks, and embrace personal growth. We'll explore the benefits of developing a growth mindset and practical steps to shift your perspective from fixed to flexible, from reactive to proactive. Let's dive in. The power of a growth mindset. A growth mindset doesn't mean you don't experience fear, frustration, or failure. It means that you don't let those things define you. You let them fuel you. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, you see them as stepping stones to growth. Here's what a growth mindset enables. 1. Embracing challenges. People with a fixed mindset tend to shy away from challenges, fearing they'll expose their limitations. They'd rather play it safe. But those with a growth mindset embrace challenges, knowing that overcoming them will stretch their abilities and bring them closer to success. Challenges become opportunities for learning and development. 2. Persistence in the face of setbacks. People with a fixed mindset tend to give up easily when they face difficulty, because they view failure as a reflection of their inadequacies. Growth-minded individuals, on the other hand, understand that setbacks are part of the process and often the most valuable lessons. They persist, adapt, and evolve. 3. Learning from criticism. Feedback is crucial to growth, but it's hard to accept criticism when you see it as an attack on your abilities. People with a growth mindset take feedback constructively, using it as a tool for improvement. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I get better? 4. Celebrating effort, not just results. A fixed mindset tends to value natural talent or results above all. A growth mindset, however, celebrates effort, progress, and perseverance. This shift in focus helps you stay motivated, even when the results aren't immediate. It's about valuing the process and the learning that happens along the way. 5. Resilience in the face of failure. In a fixed mindset, failure is something to avoid at all costs, and when it happens, it feels like a blow to your identity. But in a growth mindset, failure is just a part of learning. It's not the end. It's the beginning of the next chapter of growth. Resilience becomes easier when you can reframe failure as an essential ingredient in success. How a fixed mindset holds you back. A fixed mindset, while common, can severely limit your potential. It keeps you locked in a cycle of comfort, stagnation, and fear. Here's how it shows up. 1. Avoiding challenges. When you have a fixed mindset, you often avoid situations where you might fail. You stick to what you know, what feels easy, and what gives you immediate gratification. But growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when you stretch beyond your limits. A fixed mindset prevents you from stepping into that stretch zone. 2. Giving up easily. Fixed-minded individuals give up more easily because they see failure as a confirmation of their limitations. They don't understand that success is often built on a series of failures. With a growth mindset, you see failure as data, not defeat. You adjust your strategy and keep moving forward. 3. Perfectionism. When you believe your abilities are fixed, you might feel an overwhelming need to be perfect because any mistake could prove that you're not good enough. Perfectionism paralyzes action, leading to procrastination and self-doubt. In contrast, growth-minded individuals understand that mistakes are part of the learning process, so they are far less likely to be paralyzed by the fear of making them. 4. Self-doubt. Fixed-minded people are often held back by self-doubt. They constantly question their abilities and feel insecure about their potential. Growth-minded individuals acknowledge their doubts, but don't let them dictate their actions. They know that confidence comes from repeated effort and progress, not from an illusion of perfection. 5. Resentment toward others' success. When you have a fixed mindset, you might see others' success as a threat to your own. You may feel envious, jealous, or resentful because you view their success as something you could never achieve. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset celebrate others' success and see it as proof that success is possible, not a zero-sum game. How to shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. Shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice, one that takes time, awareness, and consistent effort. But the good news is that you can do it. And the transformation is profound. Here are some practical steps to help you develop a growth mindset. 1. Recognize your fixed mindset triggers. The first step to shifting your mindset is to become aware of when you're operating from a fixed mindset. Pay attention to moments when you feel fear, frustration, or resistance. Ask yourself, when do I feel the urge to avoid something difficult? When do I feel like I'm not good enough? When do I feel threatened by others' success? The more you observe these moments, the more you can catch yourself before you fall into the trap of limiting beliefs. 2. Reframe your thoughts. Once you recognize a fixed mindset thought, immediately reframe it with a growth-oriented perspective. It's about turning a limiting belief into an empowering one. Here are some examples. Fixed mindset: I'm not good at this, so I should stop. Growth mindset: I'm not good at this yet, but I can improve with practice. Fixed mindset: I always fail at this, so why bother? Growth mindset: failure is part of the learning process. Each attempt brings me closer to success. Fixed mindset: I'm not as talented as they are, so I'll never catch up. Growth mindset: everyone has their own unique path. I can learn from them and create my own success. By practicing reframing, you start to change your default thinking. Over time, growth-minded thoughts will become second nature. 3. Celebrate effort and progress, not just results. In a growth mindset, the focus is on effort, persistence, and learning, not just on the end result. Shift your attention away from the pressure of needing to be perfect or successful right away. Celebrate your small victories and acknowledge the effort you put in. Did you step out of your comfort zone today? Celebrate it. Did you learn something new, even if it didn't lead to immediate results? Celebrate it. Did you persist through a tough moment or setback? Celebrate it. Celebrating effort keeps you motivated, even when the results are still in progress. 4. Embrace failure as feedback. Failure is often seen as something to avoid. But for those with a growth mindset, failure is a teacher, not an enemy. The key is to change how you see failure. Instead of thinking of failure as a sign that you're not capable, think of it as an opportunity to learn what doesn't work. Adjust your strategy. Grow stronger and smarter. Instead of saying, I failed, say, I learned. Instead of feeling defeated, ask, what's the lesson here? This mindset shift makes failure a necessary part of growth, not something that holds you back. 5. Surround yourself with growth-minded people. Your network is essential when it comes to developing a growth mindset. Being around people who embody this mindset will inspire you to do the same. You need people who encourage your efforts, push you to keep learning, and challenge you to think bigger. Seek out mentors, colleagues, friends, or communities that embody the growth mindset. These people will hold you accountable, celebrate your progress, and inspire you to keep going. Real-life transformation. Sarah's story. Sarah had always struggled with self-doubt. She was great at her job, but she feared that her talents were limited. She would avoid taking on new challenges, worried that she would fail. One day, she attended a seminar on growth mindset. It changed her life. She started practicing reframing her thoughts. When she encountered a setback, instead of giving up, she asked, "What can I learn from this?" When she felt threatened by someone's success, she celebrated it and asked, "What can I learn from them?" Within months, Sarah had taken on new challenges. She had pitched a new project at work, enrolled in a course to expand her skills, and even began mentoring others. Her career soared, and more importantly, she felt a sense of empowerment she had never experienced before. Her shift didn't come from avoiding failure. It came from embracing it as part of her journey. Chapter 9. Learning from criticism constructively. Let's face it, criticism is uncomfortable. Whether it's constructive feedback from a colleague, a harsh word from a friend, or a less-than-ideal review from a boss, criticism can sting. But here's the thing you need to understand. Criticism is not your enemy. It's natural to feel defensive when someone points out a flaw, but criticism, when used correctly, can be one of the most powerful tools in your personal and professional growth arsenal. It's feedback on your current behavior, performance, or attitude. It's data, not judgment. What truly matters is how you handle it. Do you resist it, let it define you, or spiral into self-doubt? Or do you embrace it, use it as an opportunity for growth, and become better for it? The answer to that question shapes your life. In this chapter, we're going to talk about how to transform criticism from a source of pain into a catalyst for improvement. You'll learn how to shift from defensiveness to openness, how to filter out what's helpful from what's not, and how to use feedback to fuel your progress rather than derail it. Let's dive in. Why criticism feels so hard. Criticism, even when delivered in the most constructive manner, often triggers deep emotional responses. You may feel embarrassed, frustrated, or even angry. But these feelings are not necessarily an indication that the criticism is wrong or unwarranted. They're simply human responses to perceived threats. The human brain is wired to defend against threats, especially those related to self-esteem or identity. When someone critiques you, it feels like a challenge to your value. It's not about the facts, it's about how we interpret those facts. So, why does criticism hurt so much? Identity threat. When someone criticizes your work, your performance, or your actions, it feels like they're criticizing you as a person. Your brain often links your behavior to your sense of self-worth. Fear of rejection. We all want to be liked, accepted, and respected. Criticism can trigger a fear that we're being rejected or devalued. Perfectionism. If you have perfectionist tendencies, criticism feels like a direct confirmation that you're not perfect and that there's something inherently wrong with you. It's important to acknowledge these emotional responses. They're natural. But here's the secret. You don't have to react from them. The key is learning to detach your self-worth from your performance and seeing criticism as an opportunity, not an attack. The two types of criticism: constructive versus destructive. Not all criticism is created equal. There are two primary types. 1. Constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is feedback designed to help you improve. It's specific, actionable, and delivered with the intent to help you grow. Constructive criticism typically focuses on actions, not your inherent worth. Is specific and offers clear examples of what could be improved. Includes suggestions or a clear path forward for how to improve. Is delivered with empathy, aiming to support rather than tear down. Examples of constructive criticism. I noticed your report was missing the data on X. It would be helpful if you could add that in next time to provide a clearer picture of the results. You did a great job on the presentation, but I think it would be more effective if you included more visuals to support the key points. You've been doing great in your role, but I believe you could take it to the next level by focusing more on your time management skills. 2. Destructive criticism. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, is aimed at tearing you down. It's vague, unhelpful, and often emotionally charged. Destructive criticism can attack your character or abilities rather than focus on specific actions. Be general or nonspecific, making it hard to know what you need to improve. Be delivered in a hurtful, insensitive, or even demeaning way. Leave you feeling defeated rather than empowered. Examples of destructive criticism. You're terrible at this job. Why do you even bother trying? This is awful. You always mess up. Why can't you get it right? You don't understand anything. You'll never get this. While constructive criticism can be a tool for growth, destructive criticism is often an expression of frustration or personal insecurity on the part of the person delivering it. How to handle constructive criticism. Now that we know the difference between constructive and destructive criticism, let's focus on how to handle the constructive kind in a way that fuels your growth. 1. Pause and breathe. When you first receive criticism, your natural instinct might be to defend yourself, justify your actions, or even blame others. These are natural emotional reactions, but they often cloud your ability to process the feedback constructively. Instead, pause for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. Give yourself a few seconds to process the information before you respond. By pausing, you create a space between the stimulus, the criticism, and your response. This space allows you to decide how you want to react, intentionally rather than impulsively. 2. Detach your identity from the criticism. Remember, criticism is about actions, not your identity. It's data, not a judgment of your worth. When someone critiques your work, it's a reflection of that particular action or decision, not a statement about who you are as a person. By recognizing this, you'll be able to separate your self-worth from your performance. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," reframe it to, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it." This slight shift in perspective makes it easier to take the feedback without letting it define you. 3. Ask clarifying questions. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification if the criticism feels unclear or too vague. Feedback is most useful when it's specific and actionable. Ask questions like, "Can you give me an example of what I could improve? What would success look like in this situation? How can I address this moving forward?" By seeking clarification, you turn the criticism into a conversation instead of an attack. It shows that you are open to learning and want to understand how to improve. 4. Use feedback as fuel for improvement. The key to handling criticism is to use it as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Instead of getting defensive, see it as an opportunity to improve and grow. When you receive constructive criticism, ask yourself, "What can I learn from this? How can I apply this feedback to do better next time? What specific actions can I take to improve?" By focusing on the actionable takeaways, you transform feedback into a tool for continuous growth. How to handle destructive criticism. Not all criticism will be constructive, and that's okay. Destructive criticism can still offer an opportunity to learn, but the key is in how you respond. Here's how to handle destructive criticism gracefully. 1. Don't take it personally. When someone delivers destructive criticism, it's easy to internalize it and make it about your worth. But remember, it says more about the person giving the feedback than it does about you. Destructive criticism often stems from the giver's own frustrations, insecurities, or poor communication skills. So, rather than taking it personally, try to view it objectively. You can think, "This person is upset, and while their feedback is harsh, it's not a reflection of my abilities or my value." 2. Respond calmly. Even when criticism feels unfair or hurtful, try to respond calmly. Don't mirror the negativity. Instead of escalating the situation, take the high road. You can say something like, "I appreciate your feedback. I'll consider it and see what I can learn from it. I hear you, but I'd like to understand more clearly what you mean. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let me reflect on that and come back to you if I have any questions." A calm response shows that you are in control of your emotions and are focused on growth, not on defending your ego. 3. Choose not to engage. Sometimes, the best way to handle destructive criticism is to simply not engage with it. If the person is being rude or unhelpful, there's no need to get caught in their negativity. Politely disengage, or walk away if necessary. You don't have to accept all criticism as valid. Trust yourself to know what feedback is worth considering and what is simply noise. Building a constructive feedback culture. Once you begin learning from criticism, you can turn it into a feedback culture that permeates your relationships and your personal development. Here's how to foster a positive feedback loop. 1. Seek feedback regularly. Don't wait for criticism to come to you. Ask for it. Make it a habit to seek constructive feedback from your mentors, peers, and colleagues. The more you invite feedback, the more opportunities you'll have to improve. 2. Give constructive feedback. Be mindful of how you give feedback to others. Offer it with empathy, clarity, and a focus on actionable solutions rather than judgment. If you want others to learn from your feedback, do so in a way that empowers them. 3. Celebrate growth. Finally, celebrate when you or others apply feedback successfully. Recognize the progress and improvements made through feedback, and make sure to acknowledge how it contributes to overall growth. Chapter 10. Embrace challenges as opportunities. Life is full of challenges. Big ones, small ones, expected ones, and unexpected ones. And whether we like it or not, challenges are an integral part of the human experience. The question isn't if you'll face challenges, it's how you choose to respond to them. What if you could see every challenge not as a roadblock, but as an opportunity? What if, instead of shrinking back in fear or frustration, you leaned into challenges and saw them as the gateway to your next level of growth? This chapter is about embracing challenges, not as burdens or obstacles, but as essential opportunities that propel you forward. It's about understanding that challenges are a natural and inevitable part of life, but they don't define your fate. How you respond to those challenges is what will define your success. You're capable of facing whatever comes your way. And in this chapter, we'll explore how to shift your perspective on challenges, develop resilience, and use every difficulty as a springboard for progress. Let's dive in. Why we avoid challenges. It's natural to want to avoid pain, discomfort, and uncertainty. Most of us have an instinctive tendency to seek out comfort and stability. It's human to want to protect yourself from situations that feel risky or overwhelming. But here's the problem. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. In fact, when you avoid challenges, you also avoid the growth that comes with facing them. When we shy away from challenges, it's usually because we're afraid of failure. Fear of not succeeding can be paralyzing. It's easier to avoid trying something new than risk failure. Comfortable in our routine. Routine provides a sense of safety. Facing challenges means stepping into the unknown, which can be uncomfortable. Focused on the outcome. We often focus on the potential for failure rather than the process of growth that comes from facing a challenge. The truth is, avoiding challenges may provide temporary relief, but it will also prevent you from realizing your full potential. Growth happens when you step into the unknown, confront your fears, and push through obstacles. Challenges are where your greatest potential lies. The power of perspective. Shifting from problem-focused to solution-focused. One of the most powerful shifts you can make when faced with a challenge is to change your perspective. How you view a challenge determines how you will respond to it. When you focus solely on the problem, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, defeated, and helpless. Problems feel like insurmountable obstacles that drain your energy and motivation. But when you shift your focus to solutions, something incredible happens. You begin to see the challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow, become stronger and more resilient, expand your problem-solving skills, build your confidence and self-efficacy. The next time a challenge arises, ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? How can I approach this challenge with curiosity and a growth mindset? What steps can I take to move forward? By shifting your focus from the problem to the solution, you not only gain clarity, but you also empower yourself to take action instead of getting stuck in frustration. The 3 rupees of embracing challenges: reframe, respond, and reflect. In order to embrace challenges effectively, you need to develop a practical framework to guide your actions. The 3 rupees of embracing challenges: reframe, respond, and reflect can help you build a mindset and approach that turns obstacles into opportunities. 1. Reframe the challenge. Reframing is the process of changing your perspective on a challenge. Instead of seeing it as a problem, you begin to see it as an opportunity to grow, learn, and evolve. Reframing helps you detach from fear and self-doubt, and instead, approach the challenge with a sense of purpose and curiosity. Here's how to reframe. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this challenge? Flip your thought. Instead of thinking, this is too hard, think, this is an opportunity to stretch my abilities. Find the lesson. Every challenge contains a lesson. What is it teaching you about yourself, others, or the world around you? By reframing, you shift your internal narrative from one of resistance to one of acceptance and growth. Instead of shrinking from the challenge, you lean into it. 2. Respond with action. Once you've reframed the challenge, it's time to respond with action. Action is what separates those who stay stuck from those who move forward. It's easy to get paralyzed by fear, doubt, or uncertainty, but nothing changes without action. Here's how to take productive action. Break it down. Large challenges can seem overwhelming. Break them down into smaller, more manageable tasks. Each small step will get you closer to overcoming the bigger challenge. Take the first step. Often, the hardest part is starting. Take one step, no matter how small, and the momentum will build from there. Focus on progress, not perfection. Don't wait until everything is perfect before you take action. Perfection is a trap. The goal is progress. Remember, action is empowerment. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. 3. Reflect and learn. Reflection is essential for learning and growth. Once you've faced a challenge, take the time to reflect on your experience. This step helps you understand what worked, what didn't, and what you can do differently next time. Here's how to reflect. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this challenge? Celebrate your wins. Even if the outcome wasn't what you expected, reflect on the effort you put in. Celebrate the progress you made. Identify areas for improvement. What would you do differently next time? How can you apply this lesson to future challenges? Journal your insights. Writing down your reflections will help you internalize the lessons and track your growth over time. Reflection helps you turn every challenge into a stepping stone for future success. It ensures that you're always growing, learning, and improving. Why you should pursue challenges. The benefits. You might be wondering, why should I embrace challenges at all? After all, they're uncomfortable, demanding, and often scary. Here are some powerful benefits of facing challenges head-on. 1. Builds resilience. The more challenges you face, the more resilient you become. Resilience isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about learning how to bounce back from them. Every time you navigate a difficult situation, you become stronger, more adaptable, and more capable of handling future challenges. 2. Expands your comfort zone. Challenges push you out of your comfort zone. And the more you stretch beyond your comfort zone, the bigger that zone becomes. Over time, things that once felt intimidating or overwhelming become part of your normal experience. You stop avoiding discomfort and start seeking it as a signal of growth. 3. Boosts self-confidence. When you face a challenge and overcome it, your confidence soars. You prove to yourself that you can handle tough situations and come out on top. Every victory, no matter how small, builds your belief in your abilities. 4. Fosters innovation and creativity. Challenges force you to think outside the box. When faced with a problem, you have to come up with solutions you may never have considered before. This process of problem-solving enhances your creativity and innovation, which can open up new possibilities and opportunities. 5. Deepens your sense of purpose. When you actively seek and embrace challenges, you become more connected to your purpose. You realize that your purpose isn't just about avoiding difficulty, it's about rising to the occasion, learning from each experience, and using those lessons to serve others. Real-life transformation. James's story. James had always played it safe. He had a stable job, a comfortable life, and a predictable routine. But deep down, he felt unfulfilled. He knew he wanted more, but he was afraid of the challenges that came with stepping outside his comfort zone. One day, he decided to make a change. He enrolled in a course to start his own business, a major leap that terrified him. He was afraid of failure, rejection, and the unknown. The first few months were tough. He faced financial struggles, learned hard lessons about business, and encountered setbacks. But instead of shrinking from the challenges, James chose to embrace them. He reframed each difficulty as an opportunity to learn and grow. He sought out feedback, adjusted his approach, and kept moving forward. As a result, his business grew. More importantly, James grew. He developed resilience, gained confidence, and learned how to tackle challenges head-on. Today, he's not just running a successful business. He's become a person who welcomes challenges as opportunities to learn, evolve, and reach new heights. Final thoughts. Lean into the challenge. Challenges are inevitable. The only choice you have is how you respond to them. You can either let challenges overwhelm you, or you can see them as opportunities for growth. You can either avoid discomfort or embrace it, knowing that every challenge is a chance to stretch, learn, and evolve. Remember, you are not defined by your challenges. You are defined by how you respond to them. You have the power to embrace challenges, use them as stepping stones, and let them propel you toward greater success. So the next time you face a challenge, don't shrink away. Lean into it. You've got everything you need to rise above it.